Sorry, I'm having internet connection issues here today for some reason. Something's going on in the office. So the properties also allow us to see all the results which come from a particular person, or from a particular location, or from a particular source of data. So if we have focus groups and interviews, maybe we just want to see the results just from the interviews, or just the focus groups, or everything together. There's lots of ways we can do that. Once we've created those properties, now we probably want to go through and create some codes and do some codings. So let's look at Adrian's, just because this is the first one here, it's fine. So I wonder if you can think back for me for the first time you heard there's going to be a referendum. Well, I've always taken an interest in this. I was actively involved in the 1979 campaign, set up what at the time was called a Scottish Assembly. Okay, so that's quite exciting. Let's select this text, and then we can either click the plus button here to create a new code, or we can drag and drop it into an empty space here, which will allow us to put it somewhere on the canvas. And we'll call this first of referendum. So this quirk is what's going to be a code, and that allows us to basically tag something which is on a similar topic across all the different sources of data that we have. There's a description bar here, so if you want to say a little bit more about what that means, detailing the first time people were aware there would referendum. And then we've got the option here to choose either from one of these colors or from any kind of color as well. So maybe we'll have some kind of shade of green for these referendum-y things. And so there, where we drag and drop that text, now we've got a bubble, a code, which is called first heard referendum. And we can keep adding here. So this was about 1979 Scottish Assembly. So let's drag and drop into another place. So we keep adding things to first heard referendum, but we can also add this to Scottish Assembly. And spoiler alert, Adrian's actually the only person that talks about the Scottish Assembly, but it's very important to him. So let's put that in here as well. And so one piece of text can be assigned to multiple codes. So you'll see there we've got Scottish Assembly, also when we first heard of the referendum. So that way we can keep adding more and more things at the time. And this section here, this is also about the Labour Party, which if you're not used to the UK, or it's the same in Australia, I guess, is a one of the political parties in the UK. So we can select red there, click save, and that's the Labour Party. So we'll go through and we'll create more and more codes. We'll create them for different people as well. If we want to not create a code but add a little comment, for example, this person isn't very talkative, and we can even put in emojis here. Oh, very. So the memo column here allows you to kind of just drag and drop a piece of text here and then assign a little kind of comment in the side there. So that's quite useful. Also, what we can do is if we want to like search for codes, we can put them in here. So we've got to find party, we've got it there. We can also put things on top of each other. So if we create some other codes, we don't have to have text for them, called political parties. And create another one called Green Party. another one called SNP, the Scottish National Party, for example. What we can do is grab this political parties bubble, we can drag and drop them around, and we'll put Labour Party on that bubble, so it becomes a subcategory, and also Green Party and SNP, and we could do this for Conservative and all the other parties too, if we could be bothered at this stage. And now we've kind of grouped these all together. So if I wanted to find, yep, perfect, this person's talking about the SNP, drag and drop onto the SNP. So if you've got a lot of logical hierarchical structures like that, grouping them like this can be really useful. And then double clicking on any of these codes will show you the text under them. If you've got multiple codes under here, then you'll be able to see here everything under political parties, or just Labour or SNP, and so on. So it's very useful to be able to kind of drill down. Anywhere in Quirkos where you get these quotes, so this is a quote from Adrian, for example, you can click to go back to that piece of the text and see where it's from. You can also click here to select one or all of these and copy and paste them to wherever you're writing up. And so that way it becomes very quick to find. For example, if we click on first referendum, there's a bunch of quotes. There's only one. I thought we'd done more than that. But they will basically show you everywhere where that appears, and that will allow us to see all the different text there. And then we can double click and find all of those codes. So that's the basics of working with the codes and the coding, creating memos, putting them on top of each other, and then finding the data as well. But remember, we created those properties earlier. Let's look at how we might use them. So if I click up here and then go to projects, and then what I'm going to find is referendum. Okay, referendum code example. See if this is the right one. Yep, good. So this is the same project actually, which has been, let's close the memo column, actually coded. And I've spent a lot more work on it. We've got positive codes, very positive, slightly positive. We've also got positive and negative things, general politics. We've got lots more on the political parties there. So this is now a much more explored one. So for example, if we want to look for everything that people said about general politics, politics in general, the general political process, we can see all those things there. I'll zoom out a little bit. Or if we just want to see what people were saying about the last general election, we can click on that and then we can see those as well. And again, we can click and select all those comments. So again, this project is in the example folder. So you can download this and see how this was coded and how we interpreted things like impact. You know, this has got 67 codes assigned to it across all the different sources. And again, clicking Simon here would take us back to that part of the text. Okay, so we can see what's going on there. Now, the next thing is, I wanted to show you how we would use the properties. So we click on this filter view here. This allows us to search for lots of different things which are in the project. For example, we can search for a keyword like SNP would be quite a good example. Who talks about it most? Okay, Simon, 23 times, and those are all the instances of that particular word in there. So that's kind of useful. But what we also want to do really here is look at some of the properties. Now, if we're working collaboratively on the project, we could use this to look and see what work a particular person had done, who created a code. We can also look at work done over a particular date, so on and so forth. But if we just want to see, for example, what about how people, let's look at age. So everything, we've not put in vote 8 for very many people. But I think whether they voted yes, that Scotland should be independent, or no, that it shouldn't, it should stay part of the UK. We've got that here. So let's look at everybody who voted no. What were they talking about most? Okay, so most of their comments were negative. Okay, some negative things about Scotland being... Okay, I thought what the SNP first post probably wanted, it skewed people to voting yes. Okay, fine. Right, so negative things. But you can see here in descending order how much that group of people, so the group of people who voted no to the referendum for Scottish independence, were talking about. But what I can also do in this view is split the screen in half with the split view, and then if I choose another criteria here, or the same criteria, voted and yes, now on the right side of the screen, now I've got the results just for the people who voted yes, and actually they were basically pretty much talking the same amount of positive and negative things. But in okay, so that's kind of interesting. We don't want to rely purely on the numbers, but the no voters didn't talk about politics in general as much. So what we want to do is we want to see, not just rely on those different numbers there. We don't want to rely just on the numbers here. We want to see actually what the text says. So we want to go through and read side by side and see what differences are there in the way that these different groups of people talked about these things. Now, when we're done with the project, there's some other ways that we can export. We can export all the data to an Excel file or to a Word file. This is quite useful because it basically looks like you've kind of done color-coded highlights here. It's a standard Word file that you can share with someone who doesn't have or you don't want to allow to have access to your data, and just uses the memos the comments function in Word to kind of tag all the different codes that you have and who did that coding. It's also nice to print out and have as an appendix. Another thing that's useful for the appendix is the report, and the report basically gives you lots of different ways that you can show the data. So sorry here, something's going on with the internet in the office and it's disconnecting every few minutes. I will stop in a minute, but we've also got the report here, and the report will give you a lot of information about all the metadata in the project. So how many codes there are, how many sources there are, how many codes have been done, how much coding has been done on each source. But it will also show you things like quirks per source view. So in Adrian, this kind of is a graphical representation of how much each code was used. It's a little bit like the matrix queries in other software, particularly MVivo. But there's also here the overlap tables. So it shows you how much different codes occurred together. So strategy, for example, occurred most often with SMP. So that means SMP has a good strategy. Well, we want to connect a little bit closer and see what's going on now. Glasgow generally voted no. Well, I don't think that's true. Excuse me. But it's again something we want to look into. This we can save as a Word document when we're happy how it is. We can also export it as a PDF as well. So it makes a great appendix because it's also got all the data, however you want to sort it, by individual, by code, and different ways to sort and filter it. So that's all there. So that's a basic overview of Quirkos and working on these kind of projects. Sorry about the internet connection issues today. We've got a bunch of new features coming. So we've now made a bunch of changes and added a few little features, like you can now search for subcodes and they'll still appear. Made a couple of little fixes. We also have OCR support, optical character recognition. And so if you've got PDF files that you're trying to bring in that are scanned text, it will now try and read those for you as well. So we've got a lot of new features coming and updated versions coming within the next couple of weeks. If you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat right now. Otherwise, I'm sorry again for the internet connection issues today. We're always here if you've got any other queries. You can email us at support@quirkos.com. Email's the best way to contact us because we check it 7 days a week. You can also call us during UK office hours, and we've also got lots of other resources on the website to learn Quirkos. So if you go here to manuals and tutorials, here there are lots of video tutorials, long and short ones. There's also kind of like step-by-step guides and how to do each little bit here. So what I've shown you here, but also a lot more as well. So do let us know if you've got any questions. Thanks for coming along today, and hope you had a great session.